Hello. Get my thing set up again. There we go. G'day everyone. I don't have any questions that have come through, so let's get a chat going. Any questions that you have, permaculture-wise, course-wise, go for it. Send them in. G'day Finn, how you going? We didn't get an email from Finn, did we, Zara? I don't think I got one either. So I can't find your design, Finn. So to have a look at your property, I've got it in my mind, but I can't find it. I didn't get the email. No, no, I didn't get the email, buddy. So just check what happened there. I think I said to send it to Tom, didn't I? No, you said info. So I was just checking. So that your question means that you sent it. But
I'll just
so I was having a look. Anyhow, that we can't do much.
Just send it to my email address direct. I'll find it.
Yeah, thank you.
I haven't checked spam.
Send it to info. He's saying so. Yeah.
I'll have a look at spam. But...
Have a look. No, I couldn't find when the designs come in. It doesn't necessarily have your name on it, so that it's hard to find in the list of approved assignments. So. Okay, so throw us a question if you have one. How's your planting and everything going, Finn? I got excited this week and I got some planting done myself. I got a few fruit trees in, which is great. This is a great year for doing planting. And I say again, planting trees, and yeah, we've missed it because we're so busy chasing redirecting water because we've had so much water. And so redirecting that and doing chop and drop and having not a lot of resource people. So I just planted a few fruit trees in the last couple of days, just at the back of our place here, which is something I should have done a month or two ago. But anyhow, we got there, and it's actually pretty reasonable conditions because we've had more rain. So last week, I think I would have said it was raining. We're expecting more rain, and we've had more. So in the last 9 days, we've had 360 mil, which is.
It's in spam.
As I found it in spam. So we've had 360 mil. So everything's wet again. The dam's overflowing again. The swale's full and doing their job. It's pretty interesting. We got everything. We just turned into mud again. So that's a bit disappointing on one thing. We had a good germination of some seedlings down at the Syntropics. We thought we might have a bit of challenge because the seedlings weren't the best that we put through, but then it just got too wet for them, and so we've lost quite a few seedlings there. So we'll have to do a replant on that, which is a bit frustrating. And a lot of things are coming late. I do mean. So you temporary plant them and you plant them out later. Yeah, okay. So with my planting and with a bit of chop and drop, so I had this week so far, each day been going down and doing chop and drop on the swale down the bottom here, and it's overdue. It's okay, it's overdue because we've missed the flusher growth. What we've planted onto there, so we've succeeded on there. We did bananas, and then we've it's not really a great space for bananas. This skinny swale mound going through the middle of a pasture for bananas. It's not the right habitat or bioregion for them really. There is a bunch or two there, small bunches, and it's been quite dry the last couple of seasons. This year is quite wetter, but they haven't burst into growth. So we'll probably still get the odd scraggly banana. So I'll just use them as a biomass importer, and then we put in dragon fruit. So the chop and drop now is supporting the dragon fruits. Now the main chop and drop we've been doing on that is mugwort, and I think it's time for me. The mugwort's doing a great job. It's kept the grass out. The vetiver grass on the other side is keeping the grass out. So they're both doing a good job. However, it's a lot of maintenance for that mugwort. It's great biomass, building soil, keeping that soil mound active and ecology and stuff. But I'm thinking I've got mugwort on 3 main swales, and I'm not getting back enough to do the chop and drop. So they're hanging into the field. I'm losing pasture. So it's a swale cutting through pasture. So I still need the pasture. So and then they're leaning over the electric fence, and it's just a little bit inconvenient. So it's time possibly to succeed a percentage of that mugwort out. So this is an interesting thought process that's occurring for me, because I can see that it's doing a great job. However, there's some problems with not coming in soon enough and doing the management. I really need to manage it twice a year, and I'm struggling to get once a year. Maybe if I did it twice and it wasn't such a big amount of material, then it'd be quicker. But anyhow, it's okay. I can keep a certain amount of mugwort there, and then I can phase that out and bring something in. So what I need, something that's quite bushy, only grows probably one and a third meters tall, so 1,300, 1,200, 1,300 high, can be a meter high, quite bushy, perennial. So I'm, we're looking at, we've got a basil. I've got a quite a strong basil. It grows near to 2 meters, 1.5 to 2 meters high, but it seeds off and then takes over the pasture. So that's not ideal. The other basil I've got here is probably not strong enough. So I'm just throwing a few ideas around in my mind of what I can put in that space that's going to function, and as a food source would be great. A biomass is not critical, but handy. So yeah, just got to. So the point I'm trying to put across is the design wasn't perfect of what plants I used. I used plants that were very easy to strike, quick and easy to strike, and I had plenty of bananas, vetiver grass, and the mugwort. We put a bit of popcorn cassia in, but only a couple of them survived. There's leucaenas there. They're not going to keep the grass out. Their nitrogen, the leucaena here isn't a high biomass producer, whereas the popcorn cassia is, but it's going to need a fair bit of work on it as well. So I'm just throwing a few ideas out. So I'm putting my feelers out to find another plant or 3 species that will fill this niche. I've got a couple in mind. I've got lesser galangal, which should do the job. It'll still need maintenance, but it won't need as much maintenance. A faster breakdown biomass. I'm thinking of that one. I've got a native ginger, so that's another Zingabaceae that could do the job. Might not be vigorous enough, might be. I could put lamandras down there. That's an idea. So you're just getting a few ideas of what can fill that space. But I'd really like a berry bush so I can get a food production. So we don't do, this climate doesn't do berries so much. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. On out. Okay, no worries. Turmeric is an annual. Well, it's perennial, but it dies off in the winter time here, and so that's when the grass is going to jump in. I need a perennial that's constantly there. The lesser galangal, there's not. Turmeric is a great food source, absolutely. Ginger also, they both die off in the winter. The galangal stays there all year round, but it's not used very much as a food source. In time, that could change as people change their diets or the culture changes to use that food source. That is, it's an option. It is an option. There was this super food thing of using turmeric, ginger, and galangal ground up, and we were looking at that at one stage. So I've grown a bit of it more as a propagating material at this stage, and yeah, we could, but they're obviously going to need equipment to process that. So yeah, that's quite possible. I'll use that galangal, the lesser galangal. Greater galangal here behaves the same as ginger and shuts down in the winter, and so it's more used by the Asians for the root in the culinary than the lesser galangal. But the lesser galangal is a perennial, so you don't get all the best components of that. So, but if we don't start ask the question, we don't get answers. If we don't look for things that could fill that niche, then it doesn't occur. So yeah, that's what we're looking at this moment. Is that you, Zara, sending some? Yeah, okay. Okay. So that's what we've been up to this week. A bit of chop and drop. And to tidy up in the garden. The garden, it's a massive year for biomass production. Garden's well overgrown, and right now we have legume vine. So it's an introduced species here for cattle forage. It does better on growing up things than pasture. It's a bit similar to the pasture one. But this just grows over, and so it's growing over everything at the moment. So my vetiver hedges are getting a bit overloaded with it. A lot of fruit trees have got it on it. There's a lot of, it's everywhere. And so I am trying to target that. This is where Zaya's idea of bringing in some pigs. We will need to feed the pigs biomass, so food. Without buying it. The whole intention is to try and do it, provide their needs on the property. So I think that would help us to get on top of this legume vine. Every year we have the legume vine occur, and but this year is quite phenomenal because of being such a wet season for us and being pretty warm. So I think that's a good idea. It's a fair bit of infrastructure put in place to run some pigs. We want to do them in a tractor, but I also want to have a protective fence around the whole paddock, and then we can start moving also towards bringing pigs, the chickens and turkeys and stuff like that as well. If we put that infrastructure in, which is a good boundary fence, it'd be great to have a fantastic boundary fence all around the whole property, cattle and all. So you got to start somewhere. So this will be a start on that, and then if the pigs get out or other wild pigs come nearby, well then we can stop them from getting in, because as soon as you have domestic pigs, you get wild pigs coming through. They're attracted to it. So that's a way that we're going to do this legume. The cows like the legume, but it does make a bit of a mess in the cow yard, and so that creates another job. I could be giving it to them. We put it in the chook yards. At the moment, the chook yards are a mess, so muddy. And all up the coast, I saw a post on Facebook this morning, another Permi teacher, and their yards just the whole property's just turned to a mess. What happens is we accumulate a lot of organic matter in what we do, that that biology and what we do, and then when it gets really, really wet, ground goes anaerobic, and all that structure breaks down, and I guess it dies. And then it just turns to slop. It just can't hold its integrity goes. It's got the integrity for a period of time, but then after about 2 weeks, it all goes to slop. And we was drying out just a fraction, but now we're really wet again, and so everything's just gone to slop. So I haven't put my wet boots on all week. I've been in gumboots, just because there's water in the swales and grass is wet and mud everywhere. The swales are seeping into the pasture below, and so that's all muddy. And so yeah, it's gumboots. And so luckily I got a nice pair of gumboots for my birthday, because the old ones had holes in them, so it's been quite convenient. We got more rain coming on the weekend. So it looks like it's just going to continue. They're saying that we're going to have a wetter winter, or a quite a wet winter. So it looks like this is us for the next period of time. I know when 4 or 5 years ago, we had pretty wet situation, and say, "Oh, I need to do this, need to do this, and do this," and then you get complacent. It doesn't happen around the house, and from the house to the chook pens is just a mess of mud. And so I want to get that concreted. I've had the design in my mind for a while. It's embodied energy in doing concreting, so that's I obviously can't do anything with it so wet, but I've got to have it in my mind and get strategies in place so that I get something done with this concreting, because I've been wanting to do it for a few years, and it's not fun, and it's actually dangerous. We've had a few slipovers, which is understandable. I've still got a sore shoulder from slipping over, and that was on concrete, so that it's not always the solution. But there's quite clay, quite slippery, and not ideal situation to be getting through at the moment. So the property response is still looking pretty good. We are getting into shorter days, and so we're not having so much warmth. We're still reasonably warm. We could, when we do get some sunlight, hopefully we get a big burst of sunlight in the next few weeks before we do get into the our real cold months, and so that we can get a burst of growth, particularly with my chop and drop, to try and get the trees are a bit shaded, and so they need a burst of sun. Obviously I've missed the opportunity.
I realise most people are going to just laugh at you when you say our cold months.
Yeah, but it's still our climate, so it affects on the growth. No worries, Finn. I see you on the road. So yeah, thanks for checking in this week. Take care.
Thanks, man.
And so Zaya's comment was, yes, it doesn't get that cold here, but it affects our season. Any season, any climate that you have, you're going to have season effect, and so you've got to be planning towards that. I had a learning curve in the first 2 years I was here when I was doing paddock grazing, not cell grazing, and I set a paddock aside, and I thought, oh, I won't put them in there, I'll save that, and then bring the cows around into that in another 5 or 6 weeks time, or whatever it was then, and that paddock got frosted, and so I lost all the feed. It was a big mistake. We don't get frost so much nowadays because we've moved it out with our vegetative growth, bringing more biomass, keep the humidity in, and then the frost has moved out. Obviously, we're not in a high frost area. We're not on the edge of a frost area. And so we pushed that out, but needing to understand your seasons, and I was new to the area and I didn't realise that. So I lost that, not a big deal really, but I was expecting a growth through the winter. I've come from an area warm temperate to subtropic, so your rainfall's at a different time of the year, your growth's at a different time of the year, and I didn't realise it had shut down because there's beautiful warm weather here, but in Western Australia, it cooled down here, but in Western Australia they still be quite warm, but the species there are different, and they if they were here they would have been thriving, but they just can't handle the summer temperatures here. So it's a different climate. So you've got to be aware of that and work accordingly. So obviously where Finn has dropped off now, but where Finn's been is he's just coming out of the snow. So he's got fruit trees ready to go, but it's not ready yet to plant. So he's had to temporarily plant them. A lot of things are coming late. So he's keen to get started, can get in there, and the best time to plant trees is 20 years ago, and so he's trying to get them in. But it's great that he's so prepared and ready to go. It's just the timing's not quite right, and that quite often happens. I've missed my timing this year because I haven't done my chop and drop soon enough. I'm still going to get the effect. I've still got the biomass, but the biomass isn't going to decompose as well because it's missing that high humidity and warmth and a lot of rain to break down and get back into the soil. So it'll be there for another season rather than being going. So I've missed that. but all in all, it's okay. We're still, it's fine, but not getting the optimum. If you're trying to get to the optimum, then you need to be quite active. The interesting thing is so my resources of volunteers is down, and we've actually got a lot of more biomass, and we're going to plant more, and we're going to put some more swales in, and plant more, and we are planting more. So at some point they look after themselves better. So our food forest is getting to the point where it hardly needs any chop and drop done on it. It needs pruning, but not the chop and drop of the support species as much as it was. So now I can push that energy into other areas. So I'm accelerating how we get to that quicker by taking out some of the support species. So the mugwort, I'm backing off on the mugwort. Where I've been today, like yesterday, doing the chop and drop. Last year, I had some a couple came in for 1 day a week for about 4 or 5 weeks, helping out, and I sent them down there, and you can see that they didn't take the mugwort down as far as I normally would, and so this year, and it's created more biomass, but it's just not quite ideal. And so this year I'm going down harder, and we're doing a really good job. We're training out all the grass. Last year some of the grass was left, and so that's still in there, and it's not seriously in there, but it's a little bit in there. And the other one is that legume vine, so I'm trying to remove that, any living legume vine. I know it's going to come back because there's seed there, and also seed will come in with the birds and whatever. So, but if I get on top of it, I'll get a better result. We will get a burst of nitrogen from chopping and dropping that and cutting off the roots into the ground, so that'll just release a whole heap of nitrogen in the ground. So then, that's a benefit. I don't want to eradicate. I don't intend to eradicate, and I don't think I'll ever be able to eradicate that legume vine. So I'll work with it, and it's a great plant, but it shuts down your photosynthesizing of your support, your climax species, because it just covers them, and so that's not beneficial. Just trying to think what else has been happening. Di, what else has been happening?
It's been raining.
It's been raining. So yeah, we had a. Last week was our holiday week. That's right, and so holiday at home week, and so I still had to be involved with the cow milking, just because the guys weren't experienced on the milking, and I've got it back because I was allowing them to do training, learning, but the volumes dropped off, and so yesterday I got it back again. I'll check again tomorrow, and I think I've got it back. When you have your cows don't like change, and the faster you can milk, the more milk you'll get. If you milk really slow, then they'll hold the milk, not necessarily hold it back, but it doesn't get stimulated to let down. And so, yeah, that's a bit disappointing. So I've got to focus on getting it back again. And so that I've been able to do that, but it was great to have the break. Read a few books and chilled out and relaxed, and allowed my shoulder to heal a little bit. It was good having the support here, and they were quite supportive to allow us to sit around while they did a few of the animal things during the day. And so yeah, it was good. I feel refreshed. Zaya got into her music, which is her passion, and so that was good for her. One of the helpers was one of the band members, and so they had a few practices and put some more music together, and so that was good. So yeah, we had a good week with that. We needed it, and just to refresh and re-get going again. And we postponed our north trip because it rained up north, and roads were, a lot of Queensland roads were shut. So it was good that we didn't go. Otherwise, we would have been stuck inconveniently.
The goats that told us not to go.
The goats.
Yeah.
What happened?
That morning, when we were sort of deciding, and the goats were just all out of sorts because the rain was coming, and they don't like the rain. So the goats told me, no, you shouldn't be going because there's going to be a lot of rain coming.
And they're happy again now because the rain stopped.
Yeah, they were able to eat outside again.
The water in the goat pen wasn't as bad, or more the goat shed. Last time the goat shed was really, really wet. And so, and then we got foot rot. So my drainage around the shed worked reasonably well. I think I might put some more energy into that and get it working very well. So all I've got now is open, shallow trenches. I might put in some deeper trenches and put in some heavy rock, so that it can drain and not get bunked up. Because what will happen is the trenches will get filled up over if we have a couple of dry years, and then we'll go through this problem again. So I need to put in some sub draining to try and minimise. What happens is a spring comes up right underneath the goat shed, and then the goat yard, and then we ended up with foot rot. So that's another thing on the agenda to get achieved soon. My temporary trenches work, but we need to get more serious on that. What I'm trying to do is we designed for disaster, so you try and whenever there is an event, you see what happened, see how you're impacted, and then rectify those so that you don't need so much energy the next time, energy and resources the next time it occurs. So you're trying to design towards that. It's a bit crazy that was a bad event. What a bummer. We had a bad event, and then not make any changes so it doesn't impact you so much the next time, because it's going to happen again with what's going on with the climate and things like that. And this, I haven't, the whole time I've been here, I haven't had a cyclone hit down here. It hasn't happened for a long time, but it will happen one day. Am I ready for it? It won't be as an intense cyclone as it gets up north, but we'll still get that effect. And so we had a lot of rain this year, but we haven't had a lot of wind. I've lost a few bananas. I don't think I can rectify that to never lose bananas. I think that's going to be always on the cards, but you just grow enough bananas so you can handle a few losses. So that's part of your design. That's what your design's about, to have less impact when it occurs, when an event occurs. And so this year has been an edge year, so the wet edge. You have a dry edge another time. So I had a dry edge in 2008, 2009, and the paddock up here was bare, hardly growing anything. It's a mess, and I had no swale in that situation. So I need to change this. So put in a big swale, changed a few things with that swale, and that paddock now is quite productive, where it was one of my least productive paddocks. Now it's very productive. Other things have occurred as well as the swale, but the swale made a big difference. And so you've got to make these decisions and then get things going. So that's, we have our initial design, and then we hopefully we've designed well for the events. When events occurs, monitor the event. Yep, handle that well. However, are we willing? Do we expect a bigger event? What changes do I need to do to not be impacted by that event? And it's constantly thinking that way, and then that we're working towards resilience. That's where you want, so that you always get productivity regardless of. I've got a question on just excuse me. I've got a question coming. I don't know if it's why it's come in right now. It's a random question on, where did it go? It's on Kendall Permaculture Farm, Zara.
On where?
I've got two.
On Facebook.
Peter. Peter Emery. I don't know that Peter's online. I think I'll get to that one later. So I just don't think Peter's actually online. I think this is just coincidental. It's came in at this change. I'll get back to him asking about chicken feed. Okay. So we got a couple of people there, but we got no one throwing questions at me. Finn's gone walkabout. If you're there, I'll be wrapping up unless you throw a question at me so that we can have a thread going, because I can't really talk much more about what's happening here. Just to elaborate a bit more on, it's great to have, it's the problem is the solution. The problem we're having is too much wet. I see threads on that, what I was commenting about, commenting about the other permaculture person having very, very, very wet. And I'm monitoring the comments, and some of the people that the worst year. I don't know why you would say it's the worst year. It's a wet year. How, what's the positive about it being a wet year? So for me, I'm thinking this is a wet year. This is really, really positive. There's swale behind the house here, and the swale down the front here, and the swale right up the highest one have never had a wet year. They've been in through, we've done them in the last 5 years. We haven't had running rain till this year, till February this year, for basically 5 years. We haven't had heavy running rain. So it's a wet year. It's a fantastic thing. I'm going to get so much more water in my sub-moisture. The swale mounds of those 3 swales have never really been wet. This year they're getting very wet, and wow, that's a wow time. And I'm a bit intrigued that people that are following this permaculture person saying it's the worst year. This is the best year. This is a best year. It's not a worst year. It's a best year. It's the wettest year. Yes, we've been flooded. Yes, we've had issues. If you've been totally flooded, well, then you've picked a property that's, or you'll put your house in a really stupid place to be totally flooded. That's a poor, very poor design. This is a best year because we live in a dry country. We need to hold as much water into our landscape. So take advantage of this wet year and get everything really, really wet. And that's what I'm trying to do. And then I've got to hold that wetness there, and it's by planting trees and vetiver grass and things like that to hold that moisture in the ground. So this is a really, really good year. Okay, it's inconvenient that it's wet, and the driveway's not the best, or the road, our road into a place is not the best, but it's okay. We're functioning, we're fine. We've got food, we've got electricity, we've got food in the fridge, we've got freezers are full. What's the problem? If you have been totally impacted, like wiped out, then you really need to reassess where you're living and change that. If you're in a space that's getting, you need to mitigate that water so it doesn't impact you so much, or you need to change things. If you get burnt out when you rebuild, you've got to make changes, otherwise you're going to get burnt out again. And so this is the moments where we can make our best decisions, because we're analyzing what is occurring and making it function. So I'm constantly looking at, we got this little spring that occurs. It's annoying, it occurs when everything's really, really wet. I'd love a spring to be happening when it's really, really dry. And it's inconvenient. So we got the goats, not this 2 days time, they'll have to walk through that water to get to their next paddock, because I've got it draining in the laneway. I can't, there's a big pile of dirt and a dead truck and a few things in the way for me to drain it in another place. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, it's time for me to move that dirt. It's time for me to move that truck and then redirect that water so it's not in the goat laneway, because the goats don't like getting wet feet because they get foot rot. So that's my change of design is coming, but I can't do it now. But one day I'll need some dirt and I'll just get rid of the truck, because I was planning to fix it, but it's never going to be fixed. So just get rid of it and open up that space. There's some stored timber that I milled that's got to be moved as well. So do I use it? What do I do with it so I can move it? Every job has many every element has many functions. Every job has many purposes. So when I move things, change things, what am I going to? I'm just going to move it, but just for moving sake, I'm going to move it and use it or change it and whatever. And so that's my constant design going on all the time as I walk around the property. This is inconvenient. That's a problem. What is the solution? We're always very solutions oriented. And so that's what we're doing this year. I've got to get concreting. There's too much mud around the place. Concrete takes a lot of energy. Whoa, what was that?
I don't know.
We're on mains, so that's a mains one. Okay. I always get nervous because we're usually here on solar, but at the moment we're on mains because we had so much cloud. Hopefully that's going to be rectified next week. We have next week. Hopefully I get a few additions put onto our solar system and get that. I've got another regulator to be put in, and hopefully we can get our solar up to being very useful rather than just average. Another component of it's not right, let's get it right, and it all takes a little bit of resource and finance and things like that, but we're very close to having that done. We've got everything in place. We just need the technician to come in and do the wiring because it's above my pay grade, and I've got the panels up, I've got the parts, and so yeah, we just need to get that, and hopefully that's going to happen next week. It'll be very exciting to get the system up and working much better capacity than it is. Okay, so the chat's very, very quiet. I've got a couple of people there, but they're not going to get onto the chat, so that's making things quiet. So I can't do much about that. That's up to you. So between now and next week, even if you have a comment right now or next week about what you're seeing on your property and what you're curious as to how you need to change the design, that's what I'm here for. I can give you information. I can support you through that. And even you might have the right ideas, you just need confirmation that are right ideas so that you can make sure that your property is going to be resilient. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to support you with. I remember my first consultation, and basically they had all the ideas. They just need confirmation that they were good ideas. All I did was slight tweaking of a few things, because I could see if you just extend that swale, you can pick up that nutrient or energy source, water source, and oh yeah, we can lock all that together. Yeah, great. You're onto it, but there's a few other things that you could have done. That's all I gave to them, and they were very, very happy and very supportive of me coming in and doing the consult. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up because the chat's gotten very quiet. So. But yeah, please send in some questions, and if you're doing the course, all the best with that. Hopefully it's working out for you. Hopefully it's all fine. Any issues, just email into Zaya, and that should be sorted out for you, because that's what she does. Okay, thank you, and take care. We'll talk next week.